Hi all, in this first video session on practical enterprise architecture, and we will continue from where we left last time. So let's go through a quick agenda of our discussion and then we will follow through it. So we'll go through a quick recap from where we were last time, and we'll then look at how to read a business model canvas and also go through a structure of a model canvas. Pause this, I'm going to read a set of sample business model canvases, one in insurance domain, another in e-commerce, and third one in automotives. Now, other than doing search and a cursory look at these, I have not gone through them in detail before this session, because I want to prove to you that, well, it's a very simple to use tool and you should be able to gain a decent idea about a business looking at the business model canvas if you're creating it. And then we will, go through some items which are more political in nature in an organization with respect to your business model canvas, so that you are aware of how it is shared with everyone, and then we will go through the discussion on what we are going to cover in the next session. So today's session is going to focus on consuming a business model canvas rather than creating one. So let's recap from last time. So what had happened last time was that we had created this article on practical enterprise architecture, which is my first article. And what we had done was we had gone through the what a business model canvas is, its various parts, and then essentially who it is for and why it is useful. Now, as an enterprise architect, it is a very useful tool for you, because using the business model canvas, you will be able to understand the business in a nutshell. And what you will see is that the business model canvas is a very distilled, small artifact, basically trying to cover all the key aspects of a business in one single slide. But the work that goes behind creating a business model canvas is vast. It takes almost a month and a half for a decent sized organization for you to create a business model canvas and then distill it out into one slide. So once done, it gives you an immense understanding of what the organization is. So that is why I encourage architects at every level in an enterprise architecture exercise to be a part of preparation of this artifact. It's going to give you a lot of valuable information. Okay, so now another thing that you need to understand is that as a part of this enterprise architecture exercise, or these set of articles, we are trying to democratize EA. So all this information will be available to you on Git and various other sources. It will be available as an open source a set of content, so that you can essentially use it and consume it as you feel like it. So when in next session, when we will talk about how to create a business model canvas, we will share with you a laundry list of questions, so on and so forth, so that you can create this artifact on your own. In our scope of discussions, the business model canvas is not an artifact for the business, although you should share it with them to gain their insights, because you will be surprised to see that a lot of time various business stakeholders have a different view of what their business is, and this is a good place to bring them all on same page. But essential consumption of business model canvas is the enterprise architecture group to understand the business in a nutshell. Although in some of the exercises that I have done, BMC ends up being used even by the training in the organization to then start training new recruits or partners about it. And you need BMC so that you gain a good insight of what the organization does, and then use it as a launch pad for your EA exercise. And as we go through this, we will be talking about the various aspects and the structure of the business model canvas. So the process of the business model canvas is going to be that it's just uh, we will prepare questions around each of these boxes: the customer segment, the revenue, the channel, the value, so on and so forth. And then we will go and ask them to the customer. You will get a lot of conflicting information at times, specifically in customer segmentation, because sales, marketing, and accounts tend to see the same set of people in a different light. uh, it's going to be an interesting exercise to bring people on board. Value proposition is again going to be quite a challenge, because there will be the cost centers who would be treating the profit centers as their customers, and while the profit customer centers would be actually working with the end customer. So it becomes, a discussion of who your organization is, and whose enterprise architecture you are doing. So if you're doing it, say, for accounts or finance, then the customer and customer segments would be very different from, say, the sales and marketing team. So I'm going to go through these in detail, but essentially that's what I'm coming to. So during this process, what's going to happen is that you will collect a lot of information. Personally, I spend something like 1.5 to 2 months collecting information. I look at a lot of existing information within the organization, especially the trainings that they give, which and their product catalogs and their service catalogs. Those are good places to start, and start filling some of these things. Channels is something that you can usually get information from IT or salespeople, and how they maintain a relationship. The revenue and cost structures is, again, this is something you probably may not have handy, and you'll have to go to finance to find them. But most of these areas are going to be overlapping, and in the next session we will actually look at how to fill these, what questions you need to ask, in what order you should be asking them. But essentially, at the end of this exercise, you will have a lot of information that you will not be able to fill into this, and you will be cutting some of it out. If you think that you have all the information in first go, and it beautifully fits into this slide, and there's nothing to cut, then you're probably not doing things right. You should ideally have to cut information out. And this is a deliverable, as I again say, where the process is more important than the deliverable, because as a part of the process you will get a lot of insights into the organization, rather than just presenting the artifact. So at the end of it, you will have it as a launch pad. All this information that you would have gone through would end up becoming a launch pad for your entire exercise. And you should be, as I discussed, doing this for the organization for whom you're doing the enterprise architecture. So if you were doing it for IT, then the customers would not be the end customers of the organization. But if it was for sales or the entire organization, then it would be them. And someone from the CXO suite should be your sponsor, if possible the CEO, because what you will learn while preparing this artifact is that people are not as forthcoming as they want to be, because this shows gaps. This shows why people are not producing value in the entire value chain. So you need a strong sponsor for business model canvas and enterprise architecture as a whole. So let's look at reading the enterprise architecture business model canvas. So the business model canvas is read from right to left. It is a very customer focused document. You first want to define your customer segments here. And at times what you will learn is that different departments have a different understanding of what the customer segments are, and at times there is absolutely no understanding of what the customer segments are. So what you can do is look at the various parameters of various customers. So you can, for example, from the accounts team get various customers, put in certain parameters that they have, like the revenue numbers. um, then you can go to operations see how many calls and other things they get and they are entertained. What kind of channels you communicate them over. Some might be just communicating over emails, while others might be communicating over chat or dedicated phones. So you put all that information. You go to sales, put whatever information they can go in a spreadsheet, and then using modern AI tools, you can probably do some sort of clustering and see if you can get some customer segmentation in case one doesn't exist. Even if one it does exist, try doing it and see if there is going to be gotcha moment. Once this is done, the next thing you should look at is the channels, or while basically discussing it, you should be looking at channels, and channels is how you communicate with the customer, and then and then you look at how the relationships are maintained. This is where, is it like a dedicated personal or dedicated or personal or on a call center, so on and so forth. Once this is done, you have basically established who your customers are, and you also get a sense of what problems they are bringing. From customer segment, you also bring in a um, understanding of the problems that the customer has. And then you define what your value proposition is. That is, what is it on a per customer basis or customer segment basis, what are the various values that you provide. Why should a customer come to you? And this needs to be, this is going to be the core products and services, and most of the time a service plus product offering. Once you do this, then you define what are, or actually describe what the key activities are. Again, here the idea is activities that are there to produce this value, and who are the key resources. Now the resources can be your own resources, like your accounts and finance team, and sometimes they can also be your partner resources. So this is something that you need to look at. And what will also happen at sometimes is that there will be a overlap between key resources or key partners with customer segments. So if you go and ask IT who their customers are, they may not say the end customer for whom the product is being created, but they may quote internal users as a customer segment, and you need to be very wary of your scope. Is it something that I'm producing for? Is this exercise of enterprise architecture for my internal resources? Then of course they are your become part of the customer segment. But if you're doing it for the sales or the larger organization, then they do not. And finally, you define key partners. These are people who provide you logistical support. This could be IT partners, this could be tech partners, these could be your cloud provider, so on and so forth. Finally, you define the revenue sources, how money comes in, how customer pays, and the cost structure, what you need to do to continue your business. So this essentially gives you a high level understanding. What you will typically gain as a gap while doing this is disagreement on customer segmentation, disagreement on products and services. So you need to be very careful and be always defining products and services for the usage of whoever ends up becoming your end customer. And what you will also start gaining understanding is that the activities are probably being done from the days of the brick and mortar store, and they are not digital. So you will start seeing patterns of digital transformation right in this artifact, and case for it. So let's very quickly go through some samples of business model canvas. As I said, that I have not gone through these. The first one is in insurance, the second one is in automotives, and the third one is in e-commerce. Now these are off the internet. What I found is that these documents are not as rich, detailed as what we tend to produce in a realistic scenario, and perhaps the reason for this is that people who have done these tasks are in the similar position that I am, that we, for example, cannot bring in and show you a customer's business model canvas, because it contains a lot of confidential information as well, how their cost structures and other things are aligned, how are they doing research for new product, or sometimes gaping issues. So perhaps that's the reason why these will sound a little superficial, and so we'll have to live with them. So the reason I am doing this off the internet is that I wanted to show that business model canvas is such a nice document that you can just read it uh, as is, and then you can gain and understand. So I've not actually gone through it, so let's just look at this. So this is the first one. Now this is a insurance organization, from looks of it, working in Nigeria. People who both have banking and people who are getting benefits of banks or not banks. They can be cattle farmers, so, and civil servants and salary earners. So basically they are teachers and physically challenged persons. So they're giving essentially insurance to a large segment of society, and they are either reaching them out using directly, using the apps, using their websites, word of mouth, and then direct sales, so on and so forth. So essentially the model seems to be fairly traditional, with the way that they have direct sales and face to face as being written, while they call secondary as WhatsApp and SMS. So I think they are working in a very traditional model. And then again, their customer relationship is word to mouth, personal assistance. So it looks like that the person who's probably the insurance broker is also managing the entire relationship afterward. And I'm not too sure what service sweetener water means, but I think that they're giving some additional stuff. So value proposition, essentially they are giving longer operating hours, diversified customer onboarding channels and instruments. So they've got a lot of various mechanisms to onboard the customer, and they claim to have a lot of integrity and affordable pricing. So I believe the reason they are talking about integrity is perhaps because in the region where they operate, they do face integrity issues. And these are the various activities that they're doing to support this business, like financial services, reconciliation, issue management, provide relationship management. Then, of course, they are doing some internal work like operator training, fraud prevention. So again, these are activities that you are kind of doing to work on their insurance. And then they have got, oddly enough, they seem to be selling insurance on kiosk and storefront, something that I've not usually seen, but it is what it is. So these are physical resources. So again, when you look at key resources, they are not necessarily people. They could be physical staff, people, objects, websites. Those all can become key resources. Sometimes a piece of software can also be key resource. So you need to decide what is a key resource for you. So technology, connected device, POS. So they also have working capital as a key resource, which means that they are probably cash strapped, because people usually do not put working capital as a key resource. And then they have got some intellectual resources, like customer data. Again, it's odd that they have not put in their own processes and products as their key resource, which a lot of insurance companies do. So probably they are plain vanilla insurance provider, and there's nothing great about the product. And then machine power, again this becomes odd, why they need to put the generator as a key resource, which is helping with their day-to-day activities. So when you look at these and you start seeing these odd things as being very important to the business, it kind of puts in red flags that why is it that why don't you have product line as your key resource, then you're probably not doing something different. So when you will go into an enterprise architecture exercise, these will be the areas that you would like to redesign and say, okay, there is perhaps an issue where you are not generating enough value for the customer because you are not doing something different. And then why is power? Why are your operations so dependent on a generator? What is it that you can do? So again, then the key partners are banks, payment provider, utility providers, aggregators, and so on and so forth. Their revenue is transaction commission and trade income, while their costs are OPEX costs like wage, CapEx like IT equipment, so on and so forth. So this kind of tells us that this, in my mind, this insurance organization is perhaps working in a small uh, segment and working in a very traditional manner, and from the looks of it, they are not as heavily digital as they should be. Let's look at something else. So this is a system for automotives. I hope you are able to see it. If not, I will be sharing these links. They will be a part of available on the kit in the PPT, and you should be able to look at it. But from what we look at is their customer segments are customers looking for an affordable vehicle. So again, not very expensive. Customers looking for stylish vehicles with performance. Customers for automobile safety, and basically they are looking at middle class mass market. And the channels are global distribution channels with our partners. So basically it looks this like this is a organization where they are into a traditional role where people go to dealerships, and then they do advertisements and car shows as well, and then they essentially do a lot of customer service maintenance through dealerships, focus on vehicle, and provide call center support to call people up. They provide affordable cars, stylish, and which are safe. So that's their value proposition. Their resources are people doing R&D, capital resources of building the automobile, the raw material providers, trade shows, and essentially their key activities are safety testing, automation and streaming to lower costs, R&D to increase drive. So I'm not sure why in key activities they have not written manufacturing. Maybe they do used cars or something. So I'm not too sure about it, but this is what it is looking like. And other automotive firms that they can partner with for engineering technology, lowering R&D costs, key raw material provider and dealerships. So these are their key partners, and their revenue streams are coming from sales of vehicle, maintenance, and so on and so forth. And then their primary costs seem to be R&D and marketing, and then sourcing of various things. So again, as I said, whoever has built it probably was not in a position to divulge a lot of information about their customer, which you will find usually, as the case is, given business model canvas tends to give a lot of internal information about an organization. Let's quickly look at the third one and move from there. So this is an Amazon-like site. They are e-commerce retailers. So they basically operate as business clients are operate as retailers on Amazon. Okay, so this is these are a set of people who are working on Amazon as retailers, and then they provide their own services. Their channels are good distribution, online marketing, fulfillment of retailers, and online phone customer support. So this is kind of odd because usually customers do not online retailers do not have access to customers. Their So they have a customer relationship in class fulfillment of system, allowing customers to receive the orders within 1 or 2 days. I'm not sure why this is a customer relationship. This should have been value proposition, and then they provide online and phone communication channel, so people can talk to them. Their value proposition is to provide an online shopping platform that quickly delivers any item, and they use AWS to provide infrastructure. So I think this is perhaps I'm wrong, but what I think is that they are white labeled solutions for someone. That's what I'm gaining. And then the resource are shipping services, warehouse and fulfillment, servers on AWS. So this I think is more now coming out as a white label service providing e-commerce platform. Fulfillment process, just-in-time delivery, R&D. Key partners are various shipping companies and retail companies. Essentially, their revenue streams are by selling whatever products, and then cost structure is about products, managing the warehouse, so on and so forth. So not again lot of detail available, but but I think you're trying to I think you're getting an understanding of how a business model canvas is read, and when you create your own, you will have a lot of confidence, and you will know exactly how it works. So with this understanding, let's look at what's coming out in the next session. In the next session, we are going to look at how we actually create a business model canvas. So didn't want to, it was like, you first teach how to read a book before you write a book. And this is what the idea was today, to look at the value of a business model canvas. And then a lot of my audience are going to be people who will be more interested in reading the business model canvas than creating one. That is for us architects. So this answers a lot of their questions, and in the next session we are going to actually work on creating the business model canvas. I will also give you a laundry list of questions, and I will also help you compile them into groups and phases, so that you don't go to a same department again and again, and then there are going to be some questions that you need to ask first and some others later. For example, you need to have a fair understanding of the customer segmentation before you go in and look at some of things like cost structures and others, because they will they will uh, be dependent on some of these questions. And then we'll talk about how we compile results, because once you create a business model canvas, there's going to be a lot of content out there, so you will have to filter it out, and so you'll have to leave it out, but that information should be still available. All those answers should be available. You should still have this mega business model canvas which contains everything in some spreadsheet, so that you can always refer back to it. So that's for today. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Feedback as always is welcome, and in case you have any questions, please do let me know. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.